Hello, I am Practitioner Jay, and I always like to start my classes with a dad joke. And today's is this: if a female hippie gets married, what would you call her? Mississippi. Ba-dum-bum. If you can take two deep healing breaths with me, in through the nose, out through the mouth, preferably with your eyes closed, but however you feel most comfortable. And one more time. Deep breath in and slowly out through the mouth. All right. Today I'm going to be just discussing the exhaustion from healing. When we are healing, it is takes us such a toll on our body, and we go through fatigue, extreme exhaustion. So, for those of us that have begun our healing journeys, we're all too familiar with what the impact of leaving survival mode means. It signifies a shift towards healing and a more balanced and fulfilling life, which is great, enabling us to prioritize the mental well-being and start working towards our ultimate goal, which is healing from trauma. What people may not realize is how tired this all makes us, both physically and certainly mentally. Working through trauma is exhausting. Our bodies have stored the trauma for so long. It's like a grip. When we finally start releasing it, the body needs to rest and heal throughout and all during. Healing is not just a mental process. We must allow time for our bodies to recalibrate. Depending on the amount of trauma, depending on our support systems, our coping tools, this could be, something a few months, something a few years, sometimes a few decades. It's why self-care is so vital. Whatever that may look like, it's important because without it, we'll only end up running on empty, and that makes things significantly worse. Not only for our mental health, but our relationship overall, and certainly our well-being. So prioritizing self-care allows us to recharge and think more clearly. All right. Just wanted to let you know, sleep doesn't always mean rest. Annoyingly, even when we get sleep, we often still wake up feeling exhausted. Healing from trauma means there's no downtime for us. Our minds and bodies are constantly working through the tension and processing emotions and memories. It could even be repressed anger, which eventually could be turned inwards. That means even during sleep, when we wake, we're still exhausted. Sometimes, like I said, the body may be rested, but the mind is not. There's also often a heaviness in the head that does not go away, which is why during the acute phase of trauma or D-Day, let's just say 3 or 4 months right after D-Day, we could get up after sleeping for, 8, 10, 12 hours, just get up, use the bathroom, get a drink, and we're ready to go take a nap. That's how exhausting healing can be from trauma. It's extremely important when doing trauma work that we go easy on ourselves. We have to allow ourselves the time and space to heal, recognizing that the process is not linear. There will be many starts and stops. Remember that compassion is key. Compassion towards how long it's taking, compassion to the emotional roller coaster you're on, just compassion to yourself for the moods, for the relationships around you. You may not be the best at times to those you love. And I'm not giving you that as an excuse. Just be compassionate toward yourself for why you may be impatient. In a world where everyone seems to want instant satisfaction, it can be hard to adopt the process of taking time that we need to heal properly. Try to remember the slower we go, the faster we heal. So if you want healing to happen and you're trying to quickly forget about this or repress it or suppress it or make it go away, grief will wait for you. Grief is very patient. The question is, are you patient for how long it's taking you to process and heal through grief? If we rush the healing process, we tend to cause further internal conflict. Taking more careful approach allows us to process our emotions and experience fully in a healthy, fulfilling, healing way. While it can be draining, we will begin to feel as if we're making progress that works, and in fact, working if we take it slow. And I'm talking about doing the hard work, which is, you know, talk coaching or counseling or EMDR or tapping or parts work or all the above. When we've been in survival mode for so long, we have literally run off cortisol and adrenaline, and we've been running on cortisol and adrenaline for so long. We're simply going to be exhausted, mind, body, and soul. And not only does our body take time to recoup, all that adrenaline and cortisol, that takes time to recoup. And that's a drain and a strain on our body. Doesn't mean we failed at all. Does not mean we failed. We're still here. We're facing every day new as it comes. And it's something that we should really be very proud of, which is why I say try to give yourself lots of grace and mercy during the healing process. Childhood wounds often linger in our adult relationships. They quietly shape our fears, sabotage our intimacy, and repeat the hurt that we once endured until we decide to do the work to heal it. And that's just not doing the hard work, it's doing the hard work consistently until. I've worked with many, and listen, I know some of you are sitting here thinking, well, what is the hard work? I'm so tired of hearing that. What is the hard work? I'm not going to get into this class as much as that might frustrate you, but let me just say this. Sometimes doing the hard work to heal trauma is not learning how to deal with stress and anxiety and all these dysregulations, because Lord knows we've been dealing with that for so long. Sometimes it's learning how to embrace joy and be happy with feeling happy. And that can be hard things to learn. I've worked with many people that are stuck in the cycle of pain regarding love and connection. Sometimes it looks like choosing partners who don't treat you well or feeling unworthy, no matter how much praise you get. Other times it shows up as pushing people away when things are not going well. This sounds familiar to you. Obviously, you're not alone. It's likely an echo of unmet needs from your younger years. Many, many things that we work on today, even if we are traumatized today, they woke up the sleeping giant of our insecurities, of our developmental trauma or childhood years. The messages we receive in childhood can stay with us for life. If as a child you were told, whether that's directly or indirectly, that you weren't good enough, you might still sense some lack of worth as an adult. If you grew up without steady affection or support, you may no doubt um, doubt that love comes your way or that you could be loved. And this is why sometimes we sabotage good, healthy relationships because we don't feel like we deserve love. These old beliefs can creep into your relationship, shaping how you respond to conflicts, intimacy, and everyday moments. So, how are some ways that childhood wounds affect our relationships? Well, number one, with an unmet emotional needs. So we need warmth, attention, and a sense of safety as children. When these needs aren't met, we often grow up believing that we don't deserve them. As adults, that belief can manifest as staying in a relationship where we accept less than we truly need. It could also show up with the fear of abandonment. As a child, if there was abandonment in your childhood, whether that's physically, emotionally, what have you, we can grow up into adults who cling on to partners out of fear. That's not a healthy clinging. That's a unhealthy clinging. You might panic whenever someone seems distant or expects people to lead before they even consider it, which is why, and I don't want to really digress too much, which is why when a couple is having a dialogue or an argument and they need a break, sometimes when it comes to a break, somebody has to say, okay, listen, I need 10 minutes. I need to go in the living room and calm down, or I need to go for a 20-minute ride, or I need to go in my closet and pray. Telling somebody what you're doing, because the minute somebody sees you walking away, that can spark their abandonment. Number three, it could show up in trust issues. If you couldn't rely on caregivers to keep you safe, you might struggle with trusting anyone. Even minor misunderstandings can feel like big threats to your sense of security if you have trust issues. Also, we try to recreate the past. Unfortunately, not intentional, but we often try to recreate the past. So believe it or not, our brains crave what's familiar, even if that familiarity is toxic, abusive, or hurts. You may keep seeking partners who mirror the same behavior that your caregivers showed you, hoping this time you'll get the love that you once missed. So be careful when you meet somebody and you're like, oh, I feel like I've known them forever. Well, be very careful because if that familiarity is something that you felt when you were in your childhood was not safe, that's not necessarily a good feeling or a good thing long term. All right, so let's talk about recognizing your pattern. So, maybe you fear intimacy. You might push partners away or dismiss the idea that someone actually genuinely cares. You might crave approval, compliments, reassurance. All these might feel necessary for your emotional survival, even though you secretly wonder if you deserve them. Maybe you choose unavailable people. And this could happen for many reasons. Sometimes we want to prove to ourselves that, hey, this person is going to ultimately love me or pursue me. So whether they're married to their job, bound by their another commitment, or simply not ready to love, you find yourself drawn to those who cannot fill your emotional needs. And then it's just a cycle of self-worth issues. Reflect on these patterns. Do any of these resonate with you necessarily? Awareness is key because I always say if you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. So, what are some steps to healing your inner child? Number one, I said this before earlier, you have to look back on with compassion. Take time to revisit your childhood memories. Were these moments where you felt invisible or undervalued? What kind of water do they hold? Do you need to go back and promise your childhood, your inner child, you're going to do some work? Do you need to write your inner child a letter? While this can be tough, allowing yourself to acknowledge those experiences paves the way to proper healing because, like I said, you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. Practice reparenting. Reparenting means offering yourself the care and kindness that you didn't receive when you were young. It might look like what I was saying before, writing your younger self a letter, reassuring them that you are worthy of love. Absolutely, without question, and believing it. Or it could involve setting aside time each day to check in with your emotions and offer gentle words of support. Or, hanging a picture of yourself um, in your car or in your bathroom. And every time you see your younger self saying, I got this, and we're doing the work, or high-fiving your younger self. Also, setting firm boundaries. This is helpful to protect your emotional space. If certain situations or people trigger your old hurt feelings, stepping back and saying, no, it's not selfish, it's self-preserving. Now, I will not say, unless you have a toxic family that's extremely toxic, I will not say, disassociate or disengage with your family, but you can set and enforce boundaries. And that doesn't necessarily mean rules for them, it's rules for yourself. I'll only engage once or twice a week. I'll only, stay on the phone for 20 minutes at a time because anything above and beyond that starts getting blurred boundaries. So healing boundaries lay the groundwork for respectful interactions. Once you've established those boundaries, those groundworks, then you can kind of lighten up on those boundaries. Being very careful if you're around somebody who's narcissistic, because man, you give them an inch and they'll take 10 miles. You can also seek professional help. Sometimes childhood wounds run more profound than we can handle, especially alone. So a counselor or coach can guide you through exercises that you could reframe old beliefs, which ultimately help reduce anxiety and can create new, healthier relationship patterns. Obviously, we create relationship patterns that aren't healthy. We have to really create new patterns that are healthier. Building healthier relationships. So what does that consist of? Healing your inner child doesn't mean you'll suddenly never feel doubt or fear or whatever it is you feel. It means you'll recognize these feelings and know where they came from, maybe put some tools in your toolbox with how to handle them. You can respond with understanding rather than reacting from a wounded place. Here's what building healthier relationships could look like. Being honest about your needs instead of burying your feelings, you speak up about what you truly need. More time together, but is that reassurance? Is that time to think, space to gather your thoughts? Respecting other boundaries, just as you need your own boundaries, honor the limits and the feelings of others. And when you do honor other people's boundaries, it actually helps us feel good about ourselves. So it's a win-win. Choosing partners and people around you and friends and leaning into family members who value you. You become more aware of red flags like constant emotional unavailability, and you walk away from people who can't give you what you need and deserve. You walk away sooner. Now, again, if those are people in your family, you can enforce some boundaries because unless somebody's extremely toxic, I don't like it cutting off family and things like that. But you absolutely can enforce boundaries, strong boundaries with them. So moving forward, healing is a lifelong journey, but it also gives you a chance to rewrite your future. Yes, your childhood shapes who you are, but it doesn't have to lock you into painful cycles forever. By being kind to yourself, seeking help when needed, you learn to trust and you learn that you are worthy of love. You can create your new story. I always say you might not have much say in how you began, but you have all the say in how you're going to end. So you are the ones that create your rules. You are the ones that have the pen and the paper in your hand. You are the ones that write your own book. Other people may have contributed to some of the thoughts of our chapter, some of the behaviors of our chapter, some of the wounds of our chapter, but you ultimately hold the key in writing your book. So hope you got something out of this class and never hesitate to reach out to me for any reason. God bless.